catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people? Welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and more. And this week, we have entered a new chapter. The regular season is behind us. The stakes are much higher. The nerves are real, and playoff football is officially underway. It is Wildcard weekend. 6 games across the AFC and NFC, all fighting for a ticket to the divisional round. And let's be honest, this week has been a world-class wildcard week. Comebacks, late-game heroics, huge point swings, multiple lead changes, almost every matchup went down to the wire. The playoffs never disappoint, and this week proved it again. To talk about all this and more, joining me today, I have the full In the End Zone UK squad. First up, it is the man, the Titan himself, with his feet up, watching playoff football. It's Big Dave. Big Dave, how are you doing today?
All good, all good. Some good football this weekend. Some absolute stinkers as well, 2 of them, but or maybe 1 of them. But the rest of them were great, right down to the wire. Some upsets, some not upsets, some great quarterback play, some awful quarterback play. And it's what you get in the wild card weekend, isn't it? You get them teams that kind of like snuck in, all the pretenders that sort of bluffed their way through the season. They get in, they get found out week 1 in the wild card round, and then now we're left with the good teams.
We absolutely are left with the dominant forces left in the AFC and NFC. Also with me today, we have the man, the Pac-Man, who bleeds green and gold, and he might be bleeding a little bit this week. But Lil Camo, welcome back to the poddy. How are you doing? It's been a tough watch for you this week, but hope you can hold your head high.
Yeah, you know what? The first goal of any season is to make the playoffs. We've done that. We've again been one of the relevant teams in the back end of the season. It hasn't been a strong one for us, but we made the party, and yeah, tough weekend. I'm not gonna lie, kind of glad the season's over, but I've been saying that for a while now. But
That's
yeah,
true.
Nice to have, a pause, a break thing, and just hopefully get into the later weeks and just be able to watch it for a different reason.
Put your feet up, join Dave watching the playoffs on the couch with zero stress. And that might happen for me later this week, but we'll see. But for now, as I say, a wild card weekend that was world class. It was amazing. We wait for these playoff games, and Camo, you said it on the last podcast, this is where real football starts. Everyone loves the playoffs because this is meaningful football. This is winning in, losing out. And that's what we saw this week. It has been amazing to watch. So this week, slight tweak, but as ever, we are going to do our game of the week. We're going to do our wild card weekend slap or sign, and then we're going to talk about the upcoming divisional round playoffs. So we now move into our first segment. It is game of the week. And we voted that the Bills from Buffalo, the Jaguars from Jacksonville is our game of the week, because this one had everything. It had storyline, it had tension, drama. The big headline going into this game was that the reigning MVP, Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, had never won a road game playoff game in his entire career, which is wild because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Buffalo Bills have been relevant now since he was pretty much drafted. And the Jags were also on a huge win streak, super confident. Duval was loud, the atmosphere was unreal, weather was good, and this game delivered. And, this went back and forth. Josh Allen had to be Superman in this game. The Bills' offense found life through the air and 0 through the ground. The Jags' defense stepped up in a big way to keep Josh Allen's running game as low as possible, and eventually the Bills got the elusive road playoff win, a massive step forward for Buffalo and massive step towards a Super Bowl appearance and an incredible game. Definitely worthy of our game of the week spot. So let's get into talk about it. Big Dave, let's talk Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville. What did you think to this game? Bills managed to win 27 to the Jacksonville 24. Obviously a tight one, came down to the fourth quarter. Playoff football, baby.
Yeah, and the fact that Josh Allen never won a road playoff game, I mean, that's a crazy enough stat as it is, considering how relevant he's been for the last sort of 5-6 years. The Bills hadn't won a road playoff game since 1992.
Wow.
So I kind of guessed that before Josh Allen, they weren't really relevant until that, well, from that period, you know, through most of the 2000s. But this game, very similar to the Rams game, very similar to the Eagles game, it was essentially just trading scores the whole way through. And yeah, I mean, Josh Allen didn't get a great deal of help, did he, from the run game? He had some big catches. I mean, Shakir turned into like Julian Edelman and was just catching. He had about 400 targets.
Yeah,
he was just a constant chain mover, you know. He had 82 yards of 12 receptions. He got targeted 12 times as well.
That's a peppering.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks came up big, but we all knew what it was going to be, and it was going to be what it always is with the Bills, and that's Josh Allen basically putting the whole planet on his shoulders and just running through everything. You know, he had a passing touchdown, which was a great, and I wish more teams did this. You know, it was a fake dump off to the left-hand side, which the Jags all bit on, and then he just threw it over the top to the tight end. It must have been Kincaid, was it? Yeah, Kincaid it was. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid, yeah. And he ran it in for the touchdown. But other than that, it was Josh Allen and his legs. You know, them QB sneaks. I was a little bit that QB sneak that they got for like 15 yards or whatever it was outrageous.
It was. They actually called a touchdown on that play, didn't they? And he was definitely like a foot and a half short, but still.
Yeah, they brought it back, and that was right at the end. You know, that was like the last sort of Buffalo possession before obviously before they scored, but that was right at the end of the game, or right at the end of the fourth quarter, you know, and there was about a minute left on the clock, I think, and I just wanted them to like take a knee and just really drain that clock, you know. And I don't think the Jags had any timeouts left. It was I don't know if it was a first and goal actually, or
it must have been, because obviously they got the first down.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They got the first down with the tush push, and then I think the Jags had one timeout at that point, and they took it because they had to. So they had no timeouts. Technically, as you said, the Bills could have either knelt or just dove to the ground and totally seen the clock out so that the Jags didn't get another possession, which arguably...
I mean, also, it ended how it ended, you know, like if Josh Allen ran that one in, or tush pushed, or QB sneaked that one in, and then the long-haired lesbian threw an interception, didn't he? Threw a tipped interception, so that killed the clock at the end. But it was a good game, you know. Lawrence he's not been pleasantly surprising, because I don't like him and I despise the Jags. So I'm glad that the Bills won. I'm a Bills fan for the playoffs, so I hope the Bills go all the way. But you can't really take it away from the Jags. The Jags have had a great season. You know, they played great in this game. Trevor Lawrence, I think he had a couple of interceptions today, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, and one was in the last hurrah of the game. Ultimately,
yeah, it was. Yeah,
wing it downfield.
Yeah, so fair play to him for what he's done this season, and how the Jags have turned it around. You know, I look at them as a Titans fan, and I can only hope that we can have a similar sort of resurgence to what they've got. But yeah, ultimately the Bills got the win. I think I would prefer to see the Bills go. Obviously, like I said, I want the Bills to go all the way now, but I'm glad that the Jags have been dumped out because they're in my division.
For sure. Yeah, and like you say, it was actually really wholesome. I don't know if people have seen it, but if you haven't, go and have a look. There was a press conference after the game where they were talking to Liam Cohen, and one of the women sort of beat writers for the local Jacksonville paper basically just didn't ask him a question, just said, "Well done, keep your head held high. Thank you for making Jaguars relevant again. You can go again next season." And it was kind of wholesome and nice. And instead of like most of the time coaches get, you know, under fire and scrutiny, but I think it was nice to see people from Jacksonville actually respecting that he's essentially in one season sort of made them relevant again. Trevor Lawrence has had a good season. I wouldn't say it's been a great season. There's some people out there, I saw some stuff about him being like, I think he gained like 1 MVP vote or something, which is wild. I don't think he's been that kind of guy, but he's definitely made improvements. He definitely looked good at parts in this game. You know, he threw for 3 touchdowns. So that, you know, that is in a wild card game in the playoffs, That is very solid work. He just got beat by ultimately a more, I guess, reliable and better quarterback in Josh Allen, because it was all Josh Allen. He took some big hits in this game, was definitely injured to start the game, went into the blue tent twice in the first quarter, hurt his hand, hurt his knee, and just kept going. I think people who listen to the podcast obviously know I really rate Josh Allen. I respect him massively. I took him in fantasy because he's just an animal, and he will just go that extra mile for his team. So yeah, I'm glad Josh Allen's through. I'd love to see the Bills in the Super Bowl personally. But Camo, I know you were out watching Spurs, and so you didn't necessarily see this game live. However, what did you take away from watching this game after the fact? What did this game do for you?
No, this was one of the games I did manage to watch live.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed this game. I did. I really liked. I wanted the Jags to win personally. I thought Parker Washington was great. I think he came down with seven catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. And I don't know, everyone's on the Josh Allen hype train. I'm just not. So I really wanted to see. Do you know what? Let the Jags go and do it. They came close. It's also unfortunate the way the game ended. Like, Trevor has had a better season, and for him to be the one that the mistake at the end with the interception. I know he had to throw it downfield, but it weren't a great pick. Tight game, back and forth.
That's all you want from a wildcard game, right? You want it to be competitive.
The Jags have got a lot to build on. Like I say, they were terrible last season, and to be where they are now, positive going into next year. I forgot they had Travis Hunter. If he can actually come back and do anything on either side of the ball and then build off it this off season, they're in a really good spot.
Absolutely.
But good game. Josh Allen certainly was banged up first half. Does that have any lingering impact? I'm going to say probably not. He looked okay by the end of the game.
Inject yourself with painkillers and carry on.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine. But unlucky Jags, I enjoyed it, and it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people probably thought it would be. And
yeah, I think
the Jags took it to them.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. It was a tough old sledding, and that is a good point to make. Is that the Jags did not make it easy on the Bills. The Bills have been, one of the top ranked run offenses this year. Their offensive line has sort of had its way, making big holes for Jimmy Cook, and he's had many a yard on the ground. I think he might have led the league actually, if I get it right.
Yeah,
but
he did.
So what a way to stuff the run. The Jags managed to stop that happening. I think he only had around 40 yards, 46 yards he had on the ground, 3.1 yards a carry. That's, it's probably as little as he's had all season. And that Jags defense is built for that. You got Josh Hines-Allen coming off the edge. You got Trayvon Walker, who's amazing at stopping the run. Their linebackers are disgusting. Like, they are built. The only thing that they're missing really is a top class secondary. And I think to your point, Cam, not having Travis Hunter, I think next year they should play him strictly at corner, because he's by far the best corner they've got. They've got receivers, they've got Parker Washington, they've got Jacoby Myers, they've got
Brian Thomas Jr.
Like, they don't need to add him to the mix. Play your strengths, at least play against your weaknesses. Put him in as a dedicated corner. Let him take that time with the defense in the off season, and just make use of those skills. If for whatever reason you want to put him in for a play or two, trick play or two, or stretch the seams on when you're losing, fair enough. But don't scheme him up to be like a dual threat, because it's clearly just, he's been injured. That's it. It's like we all called it at the start of the season. So the Jags have definitely got an opportunity to get a playmaker back and be relevant in a division that's wide open.
Yeah, and say for me, the Bills, I just have question marks over them because they are a bona fide one-man team. They're not a team. They are all reliant on Josh Allen. If they can't get that run game going, what's Josh Allen going to do? And they're hoping he's going to do it with his legs.
Yeah, I mean, this game was a bit of a different one though, in the fact that he did do a lot of it with his legs, but for the first time in a long time, he threw for 273 yards. He threw 28 of 35 passes and a pass rating of nearly 110. Like, he took what was available. He almost turned the pass game into the run game with some short yardage throws. They knew they couldn't get the run going, so he was dumping balls off. He was being semi-smart with that ball. To only have 8 incompletions or 7 incompletions is pretty amazing compared to Trevor Lawrence throwing it 30 times for 18 completions. I thought Josh Allen made some smart moves this game, and whilst yes, it's still Josh Allen and it's not a team, they're missing for me that bona fide number one receiver, because outside of that, the Khalil Shakirs, the Keon Colemans, the Dawson Knox, the Dalton Kincaids, they can move the chains. They just don't have that explosive play that isn't Josh Allen, essentially making otherworldly throws. Like they had a deep shot to Brandon Cooks in this game. I think it was a 40-yarder or something. And it was, what a throw. Like he was under pressure. He got hit. He took the hit and he put the ball exactly in the hole in the zone that he needed to for Cooks. But it was all under duress. It wasn't like, it wasn't like Jared Goff when he fires it down the field to like Javonte Williams or, old school Mahomes or Tua firing it down the field to a Tyreek Hill. It was on the back foot. And yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, Cam, in the fact that he is a one-man army. I just feel like they're not a million miles away from being incredible if they can bolster their defense a little bit and get a bona fide number one. You know what the Bills need ultimately. And you say it's very little, but it's not a lot to become a game-changing team. And that's it. That's the game of the week. The Jaguars are jettisoned out the playoffs and the Buffalo Bills continue on. We'll talk about who they're going to play a little bit later. Jacksonville finished the season 13-4 with a loss in the wildcard round. Bills 12-5, and they keep moving forward. Now, we move into the second segment of our Wildcard podcast. You know what time it is. It is slap or sign. And so, as always, 2 AFC picks, 2 NFC picks. You either slap a person for blowing it on the biggest stage of the season so far, or sign somebody for stepping up when everything is on the line. But this is playoff football. Pressure amplifies everything. Every mistake is bigger. Every positive play is bigger. So, Dave, I'm coming to you, and I'm going to come to you for your NFC sign. I want to start somewhere positive.
So I'm going to sign, I might have even signed him last week, Colston Loveland for the Bears.
I think you did actually, but yeah,
or give him maybe an honourable mention last week. I can't remember what I did. In a game where, again, was very, very back and forth. Well, in fact, it wasn't back and forth. It was the Packers dumping on the Bears and then the Packers absolutely choke him. But in the second half, the Bears needed a massive comeback. And Colston Loveland was the guy, 8 receptions, 137 yards. He averaged 17 yards a carry. And some of them, I almost signed Caleb Williams, but he threw 2 interceptions in it. For the first half, he looked pretty awful.
I almost signed him as well, but for those reasons, I didn't. No,
it was 50% passing. I just think that Colston Loveland's been great. The second half of the season, he's been unbelievable.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I just feel like he didn't get a touchdown in this game, but everything was about the big plays that were downfield that needed to happen. He was the one that got them. He had a couple of drops, actually. He had 15 targets and only 8 receptions, so he only caught like 55% of what was thrown at him, but some of them balls are awful. I just think they've got an absolute stud there. There's these tight ends that have sort of separated themselves this season from the pack. You've got your Brock Bowers and stuff, but that Trey McBride and Colston Loveland, and then Uzi Warren from the Colts. Yeah. These younger tight ends are starting to emerge. And the likes of Kittle. I mean, Kittle now could probably be done. At his age, is he going to realistically come back and be any kind of force from an ACL and Achilles rupture? Probably not. Kelsey, we've seen what he was this season. He's a shadow of his former self. I think these are the new breed of tight ends that are coming in, these receiving tight ends. And I think how he's been this season is like what I expect of like Kyle Pitts and Njoku, Evan Ingram. But they never have they have games where they're unbelievable, but they never have like consistent long stretches where they're elite tight ends. I kind of like the Bears. I never thought I would ever like the Bears because I think Caleb Williams is a weirdo that paints his nails, and you're generally conditioned to hate the teams that play opposite like your guys' teams. Like the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings, and then like the Rams and stuff, but I kind of like him. I like the head coach. I like the fact that he's got an attitude that he's making it a real rivalry with the Packers.
That's been a game changer, hasn't it? Getting him in the building.
Oh, he's absolutely turned the franchise around. You know, he's got, you can tell that he hates I don't know what LaFleur's done to him, whether he's slept with his wife or something, but he despises, because in his opening press conference, he didn't say, can't wait to beat the Packers twice a year.
No.
He says he can't wait to beat LaFleur twice a year.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just, that for me was like,
it's very personal.
He does not like him. I don't know what he's done, but
the handshakes after the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's gone both ways, because he's done it as well. And LaFleur did it when you beat him earlier in the season. So I think that was a bit of like, we got the last laugh sort of thing. But
yeah.
I mean, what a game this was as well.
Yeah, what a game. Colston Loveland looked amazing though. Like, he is that tight end that, you know, a lot of his catches were down the seams. Like, he's a full on field stretcher, as well as like a potential big-bodied possession tight end as well. He's got full top-end speed, and you can see why Ben Johnson took him in that first round with the 10th pick, because I feel like he saw something. And when you look at what the Lions were, and I say were, with Sam Laporta and Ben Johnson, I feel like he's just Sam Laporta, but better and with more pace and a rangier. I think that he could be, if Caleb Williams continues being on the progression that he's on, I feel like this Loveland could be like maybe set, because I think Brock Bowers is unbelievable, but he could be climbing for that number one tight end spot in the league by this time next year. Like, he could even maybe surpass Bowers, because I think his physical elements are probably better than Bowers. Like, I think he's probably quicker and he's bigger. So, but I'm not taking away from Bowers, and obviously Trey McBride, who are probably the two top tight ends in the league at the moment. But I feel like he's got every chance to be that guy, you know, that next like force.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud, you know, and like you say, the Bears' offense looks like what the Lions' offense has been for the last couple of years, and the Lions' offense has completely reduced itself to what it was before sort of Ben Johnson got there. Must be Ben Johnson, eh?
Must be, eh? Shock horror. An offensive coordinator turned head coach turns a team around. I mean, we'll talk a bit more about this game as we go through, I'm sure, slap or sign, but and we definitely want to hear sort of Camo's opinion on it. Packers did lose this one to the Bears, 27 to the Bears 31, but we've got more to talk about. So let's continue with our NFC signs for the moment. I'm assuming, Cam, there's no sign coming from this game, either the Packers or the Bears from your side. So if you could maybe give us who you are going for.
Yeah, no, all good. I'm going to sign Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Because, man, this Niners team just don't know when to quit. They have been banged up more than anybody. They find a way. But McCaffrey, for me, he's been that one superstar this entire year that's been there throughout. He's been consistent.
Yeah, that's true.
And he came down with 2 big touchdowns for them in this one. One of them was a big trick play, which pretty special. But yeah, this Niners team, man, it's just, I think they're dangerous because they just don't know when to stay down. And obviously the way that the games have now fallen, the next round, obviously it's who you boys are going to be playing.
Seattle playing Asia.
I know you played them only a couple of weeks ago, and obviously your defense shut them down. I'd say be confident going into it, but yeah, do not write them off, because and obviously look where the Super Bowl is this year. If they manage to get there somehow, it's just wild.
Yeah.
And that's what I think's dangerous about them, is because they should have been out of it a long time ago with how they've had to play. And say McCaffrey again in this one, we called it on the last podcast that it was who was going to be better running the ball, McCaffrey or Barkley, with the 2 tight ends that we said were that's how both teams played. And Goddard obviously looked class as well. He had 2 touchdowns, as Dave mentioned earlier, went down as its second quarter, and he potentially all of next year could be done. It's not looking good, but they just find a way. And McCaffrey carries that ball a number of times, but he's so dangerous out that backfield. He'll catch a ball like he's just a bona fide wide receiver. Yeah,
this year
really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely, Cam. Absolutely, Cam. And you're not wrong in the fact that saying that he's been like that number one star-studded player this year. You know, that I haven't heard much about it, but I think he's probably a few explosive runs away from like offensive player of the year. You know, like I feel like
I think he had the most touches and
most touches, but I think the problem, like the eye test, and maybe why he's not getting the love is because this year, I think like his longest run up until like week 15 or 16 was like 17 yards. You know, like he's not had one of those James Cook, Jonathan Taylor to the house call. I don't even know if he's got it in him anymore to have one of those. However, he has been that player that has scored touchdowns in nearly every game and had like nearly 100 yards in every game. You know, he's had 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. He's actually been more dangerous in the passing game than he has in the running game. I'd imagine he's had, this is a pure guess, but from what I can remember, I bet he's had just as many touchdowns through the air, if not more, than on the ground. And this game was exactly the same. Two receiving touchdowns. He's just that guy. He just knows football, finds those little pockets in the zone, drops in there, Purdy dumps it over to him, and he takes off for 5, 6, 7 yards, gets the first down, keeps the chains moving, and somehow always gets open in the end zone. It's incredibly impressive. And yeah, as you say, Cam, the Niners don't know when to quit. I don't think they've got any quit in them. 23-19 against the Eagles, and the Eagles were favoured in this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, just on McCaffrey, he probably should be the offensive player of the year, which is outrageous because he's not been mentioned once in it. He's had 2,000 scrimmage yards. He led the team. Well, he played all 17 games for starters. He led the team in rushing and led the team in receiving, and that's outrageous.
That is outrageous.
And 2,000. I mean, he had 1,200 rushing yards and 924 receiving yards.
Yeah, it's amazing.
7 receiving touchdowns and 10. So he's had 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know, he definitely does more as a running back than any other running back. You know,
what he means
probably more than any other player. What's that? Sorry.
What he means to that team, especially this season, is crazy. Like he's had years before where he looked pretty. He was able to be the superstar. This year, he'll do whatever it takes to drag out that win because, like I say, they've lost so many players.
Yeah. And in years past, they've had Debo and Ayuk and Kittle all healthy, and he's only had to be a part of that offense. Whereas this year, it's safe to say he has been essentially that offense, aside from some like magical weeks by Kittle.
He nearly has double the amount of receptions to anybody else on his team. He had 102 receptions. The closest person to him was George Kittle with 57.
Yeah, wow.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I don't know if we're going to talk about the Eagles in a Slappington. Are the Eagles on anybody's dial up? No. So we may as well finish this one and just talk about the Eagles because they struggled to put 19 points up on the 49ers on a beat-up defense of the 49ers. Jalen Hurts, I nearly slapped Hurts as well for those listeners out there, for Eagles fans out there, or for those that hate the Eagles. My finger was about to pull the trigger on a Jalen Hurts slap, and I changed it just very quickly. But, I mean, look, 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 rushes for 14 yards. I put a lot of this loss on Jalen Hurts, and as much as his biggest games have come in playoffs and Super Bowls and stuff, this is a game that you should be able to, as a franchise quarterback, grab by the neck. You got Saquon Barkley going over 100 yards, and make something of it. But instead, you've got Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon, AJ Brown, all with 8.3 yards an average, but they're only receiving 1, 2, 3 passes, 4 passes. It's really poor. 8 yards a reception when on the other side of the ball you've got DeMarcus Robinson going for 18 yards a reception on 6 catches, McCaffrey going for 11 yards a reception, Juszczyk, the fullback, going 12 yards a reception, Juwan Jennings 45 yards a reception because he only had 1. But still, you've got all these elite players, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley. They're like Madden superstar X factors, all of them nearly, and you can't beat 8.3 yards a carry. A reception. I put that on Hurts. I put that on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to push back a little bit. AJ Brown deserves a slap more than anybody, because if he makes them 3
That's
catches,
fair.
they were all catchable. Every single one of them should have been caught. One went through his hands. One, he was just too lazy to lay out and grab it. If he moved his hands another 6 inches forward, he'd have caught it. And he didn't catch the other one. The game looks completely different if he makes them, because they were all downfield throws on big third downs, you know. And then if he makes them catches, his receiving yards go up to 250, and it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
They're massively
share the blame.
They're massively missing matey boy who went to the Saints, the head coach, who was the offensive coordinator last year. Was it the Cowboys?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Gosh, he's got a face like a potato.
Yeah,
one of the ugliest blokes on the planet. What's his name? I don't know. We'll find it.
But they're massively missing him, because Kellen Moore, that's his name.
Kellen Moore, that's the one.
He's an unbelievable play caller, and I just think they've looked bland this year, you know, and their head coach don't help it. He's a bit of a weirdo. He's been slapped numerous times, obviously, hasn't he?
Yeah, I hate
his name. Jesus Christ.
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing, innit? Like, I mean, he's getting a load of shit, isn't he, for gobbing off at AJ Brown.
Yeah.
For not running off the field quick enough. Like, get off the field. Stop. Like, get out your feelings. Get off the field. Do you know what I mean? You causes a penalty if you've got too many people on the field. Get off the field. And then AJ Brown's crying about it. He needs to move on. I said in our group chat, didn't I? If I'm the Eagles, they've got the best GM in football. If I'm their GM, I would offer whatever it takes to get a better quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is good. I just don't think he's elite. If they had, and there's obviously no way they're ever going to get Josh Allen. If they had Josh Allen, they wouldn't lose a game all year. They'd go 17-0 every single season and win the Super Bowl, because their team is unbelievable. I think they need to get rid of AJ Brown and upgrade, or equally swap, because he's unbelievable. I get that, but he's just not. He's got a bit of DK Metcalf in him, a bit of George Pickens.
Yeah,
you know, where he can get a little bit mardy, and I don't think when you've got him and then Devonta Smith, who doesn't, you don't make any sounds from him at all. He just gets on with it.
Silent assassin.
Yeah, I don't know. I said I think they should go out and try and get Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow don't want to be at the Bengals, can you imagine Joe Burrow on this team?
Oh, he could do some.
It'd cost a lot. I know
sure.
it'd cost a lot, and I don't know if it'd ever happen. If you're the Bengals, you'd be stupid to do it. Stupid to get rid of him. But if it was me, they need to upgrade. It's a similar situation to, we spoke about it yesterday, the Rams with the Lions when they traded for Matt Stafford. You get the right quarterback in that team would be undefeated. They've got the best, one of the best running backs in the league who can do everything. He can take the load off a quarterback. And then they've got 2 great receivers, great receiving tight end. Their defense is unbelievable, but they get done in by a Niners team that's just a lame dog that don't know it's dead yet. They score 13 points in the fourth quarter yet again. Yeah, and beat the Eagles, you know. But
my big thing with the Eagles is, like I say, they've got arguably the best running back and the best 1-2 wide receiver in football. Yet the one that keeps coming up making plays is their tight end.
Yeah, he's great.
You need to be able to find a way to get your superstars working for you, and they've not been able to do that pretty much all season. Like, Barkley was phenomenal last year. He's not looked a shadow of that this year, and they've not hit the heights all season. So yeah, I think the fact that Goddard was class. He had 12 receiving touchdowns, or 14 including these ones.
Oh, he's been amazing this year, Cam. Yeah,
but for him to be on that team, the guy that you have to rely on is the issue, because they've got superstars there that are not doing it.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how much of it is. It seems to be these teams losing these coordinators, and it just goes to absolute shit the next year. They don't seem to have an identity outside of. They don't seem to have a person in waiting, and this is what happens when you're a good team. People come and they strip your coordinators, and if you've not got a similar sort of game plan, you almost have to get rid of players. Because if you're not going to use Barkley how they used him last year, what's the point in having him? You know, if you're going to rely on a quarterback to throw the ball 35 times, but he's not capable of throwing the ball 35 times, that's never been Jalen Hurts' thing.
Same principle applies for AJ Brown, because there's been so many narratives this season about why they're not throwing the ball at him, why is he getting no targets, and then every one in 4 or 5 games they'll pepper him with some passes and he'll come out with 150-yard game. But actually, the reality of it is he doesn't suit their game plan. They've got a Devontae Smith who can do not the same thing, but he's that down threat receiver. AJ Brown in their scheme is not a possession. He doesn't box people out. He's not running slants. He's not like, they don't really need him. Like they could ship him off and probably put somebody in that same position. Like, this is going to be a really bad comparison, but like say a Valdez Scantling, long, big body type receiver, and probably get a very, very similar production from him. Not the same, because he's not the same player, but with the capital that you get from AJ Brown and the money, where else you could put that and benefit your team more, like as a pass rush, because this Eagles team has fell off a cliff from a defensive perspective. And was it Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, has not really been in his bag this season. Like, they've had, again, good games, but they couldn't stop the Niners here. And massive shout out to Kyle Shanahan. He's done amazing things. I was going to sign him too.
They stopped him essentially for 3 quarters. They had that opening drive that it took for a touchdown, and then they didn't score a touchdown again until like halfway through the 4th quarter. So they did for a certain part of it, but they're not capitalising on stopping them. So that's what keeps these teams hanging about. So rather than scoring touchdowns themselves every drive, they score like they'd obviously touchdown, and then field goal. Like, you need to step on the neck of these teams. That's why when teams get conservative, it pisses me off. Like, I want them to absolutely crush the other team, because if you leave them an opportunity, what happened to the Packers, what happened to the Eagles here is what happens. These teams come back, because all the teams in the NFL are good. Well, with some exceptions.
Yeah. And also when you're in the playoffs and it's basically all out, you've got nothing else to play for, have you? It's like you play the rest of this end of the 3rd, 4th quarter, and you take risks and you take shots, because if you don't, you're gone anyway. It's like there is like, it's not like you're thinking, oh well, if we lose this one, it's okay, we've got another game next week, we could win. It's like, no, your season's done. And so you almost have to take a different approach in the playoffs, I think, when you get to the 4th quarter. If you're a defense that's winning, you almost have to, like, I don't know, go, like, you can't go conservative. You can't go into your bag and be like, okay, we're winning, let's allow them to do this, but not try it, because teams are never going to stop. If you've got a competitive team on the other side, they're not going to stop. It's like Madden. Like, you're going to wing that ball down the field every single play to try and come back.
Yeah, and all it takes is a pass interference call or a catch or a defender slipping over, and then you're back in the game, And I don't know how many of these take their eye off the ball when they're up 20 points and they're like, right, let's start shutting it down now. You can't, because although it's 30 minutes, the second half of a game lasts 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in them 2 hours, and I think there's so much of that this weekend. And you've got to play to the final whistle, and look at how many of these games: Panthers, Rams, Jags, Bills, Niners, Eagles, Bears, Packers, Steelers, Texans. They all came down to the 4th quarter. I mean, we've not spoke about the Steelers game yet, but them 20 points that they put on them were like halfway through the 4th quarter. It was a close game. Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, for sure, absolutely. And so, ultimately, this game, the Eagles have been bounced. The reigning Super Bowl champions bounced with 19 points against the Niners 23. There are still 3 teams left from the NFC West in the playoffs right now, which is, I think, just wild. A credit to the Niners. Let's see what happens next week. My sign in the NFC is going to, and it might be a bit of a weird one, but equally it's not. I'm signing Matt Stafford from the Los Angeles Rams. I'm taking it all the way back to the first game of this playoff window in the Wildcard week on Saturday. It was at a reasonable time in the UK, so most people were sat watching it. And I almost signed Dave Canales from the Panthers, because even though they lost, this made me feel really good about the Panthers. They lost 31 to the Rams 34. You know, they scraped into the playoffs. They didn't deserve to be there, but they gave it a good shot. You know, they almost did what you would never have expected to do. I think I left you a voice note, Dave, saying that just the Rams are going to win. How badly are they going to win? You know, like it's in the realms of impossibility nearly that the Panthers could win. And at one point, it looked like they might. And just getting into that position, fair play. I'm not signing them because ultimately they did lose, but it gives you a little bit of hope for next year. You know, they crept into the playoffs at 8 and 9. That's not a good record. It's actually a poor record because you're now going to have a really middle of the pack pick in the draft, and you got into the playoffs just by another team winning, but you made it competitive. On the flip side, you've got the Rams, who've been a powerhouse all year, and they didn't look amazing in this game, but still, Stafford threw for 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick against 2 incredible DBs that the Panthers have got. And when it comes down to it, I don't think there's another quarterback aside from Josh Allen left in the playoffs that I would trust more than Matt Stafford to like go and win you a game. And apparently he turned around to Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams, I think it was, when they needed to go and score, and he said, let's go tear the hearts out of these Panthers, and just knew that they were going to score. And that's baller moves. He's obviously, I think, going to be the MVP of the league. I think he does deserve it, unquestionably. And in this game, he carried the Rams to a win against a really, really well coached, tough fought Panthers team. Puka Nacua had 111 yards, and Stafford could just spread that ball out. These no-look passes that he now does like multiple times a game, where he just moves the defenders with his eyes and then pings it to a Kobe Parkinson, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua for touchdowns, you know, Devontae stretching the field with 72 yards and 5 receptions. He's just so good. I think the only way you beat the Rams is you make Stafford beat himself. You know, like if he gets into his own head, throws some stinky picks, which he doesn't do very often, you have to confuse him, and it's so hard to confuse somebody who's been in the league for as long as he has. But I think if he has a clean pocket, there's nobody better. Like he just puts the ball exactly where he needs to put it. And 34 points and a win. Yeah, I'm giving it him because I just think, I still think the Rams are the toughest team in the NFC at the moment.
Yeah, they're dangerous, aren't they? They can turn it on at the switch of a hat. They are just, yeah, he is that good. Like I say, for me, he's probably MVP. And Puka will always come down with balls. Add in Devontae Adams, add in the run game that they do have. They are dangerous, and they'll always be competitive. They've got such a good coach in Sean McVay that all round, Stafford has been there, he's done it, he's won it. I don't think he's going to get flustered. And let's say at the minute, it's the NFC playoffs are NFC West matchups, basically. That's what the gauntlet's going to be, is who from the NFC West really wants it. Does Stafford's experience make that difference? Don't know, but it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if on paper the best matchup for the Super Bowl would probably be the Bills versus the Rams for an offensive, a real offensive show like we had last year. You know.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Whereas I think if the Seahawks got there versus, say, for example, the Texans, there's a potential for it to be a real like defense. And I'm not against that. You know, I think they're as exciting as offensive ones are, you know, but they appeal to a different audience, don't they?
Yeah.
Stafford,
it's not quite the spectacle, is it?
No. Stafford had to pull it out his bag in this game, you know, against the Panthers. The Panthers were either they were going to do one or two things, but they were going to roll over and die and get steamrolled like we all thought, or this was exactly what was going to happen, kind of how they've won games this year, you know, fourth quarter drives and winning in the fourth quarter, rather than being up early and seeing it out. But this game was unbelievable. You know, it was, the Rams went up 14, then the comeback sort of came back from the Panthers, then it was a field goal, then touchdown, and then from the third quarter it was, you have the lead, we have the lead, you have the lead, we have the lead, you have the lead, and then the Panthers taking a lead with like 2.5 minutes left is unbelievable. I was like, there ain't no way these Panthers are going to do this to this Rams team. And then, like you say, just Stafford goes down the field, scores a touchdown in the last sort of 2 minutes. You know, he's so lethal in them 2-minute drills. But I think to Cam's point, like McVay's he's like this offensive sort of god, isn't he? He's just, I feel like this team's been reimagined so many times, and they went and completely did the right thing and got the right quarterback. And it just shows you, if you pair the right quarterback with the right coach, I mean, Stafford could do this for another 2 or 3 years, I think.
He could.
He strikes me as sort of being in that. Do you know when Aaron Rodgers had that sort of like 3 or 4 year stretch where everything he threw was amazing? They didn't quite have the team that got to the Super Bowl and won, but when he was throwing like 46 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Well, that's when he went back MVP type thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's the zone I feel that Stafford's in, where you can't really show him anything that he's not seen before.
Yeah.
Everything he's seen, everything before, and he's got the guys downfield to make them plays, And Puka Nacua, like you say, who's a better receiver than him?
He's the best receiver in the league.
Which is mad, because he's a 4th round pick or whatever he was.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily quicker than everyone. He's not, he's a big guy, isn't he? But he's open constantly. I don't know what it is. It's like he's got Devontae Adams' ability to get open with Mike Evans' ability to catch the ball.
Yeah.
It compressed into one weird-looking Samoan dude with like long hair.
And then on the flip side, you've actually got Devontae Adams catching 17 touchdowns in the season.
Yeah. And then you say his tight ends work. They've got these tight ends that are complete nobodies, but because they all can catch a ball. He'll abuse you. There's nothing you can do in the red zone, because they'll either run it in. He doesn't need to be a Josh Allen where he's going to QB sneak and stuff like that. They don't want to risk him doing that. They don't need to, because he's got Kyron Williams who can run it in, or he's got 2 wide receivers that can catch it, and then 3 tight ends that can catch it. They're just a hard team to stop, and it's going to take a real good defense paired with an offense that can move the ball to beat them, because you're not going to beat him with a good defense. Because it's unlikely. He has them games, doesn't he? Every 10 games, Stafford will have one of those games where he shits the bed and throws 4 interceptions.
But you won't do it in the playoffs.
If he doesn't do that, I just don't see how you can beat him, because the defense is good as well.
It is, yeah. It's got some holes. Yeah, that's the only chink in the Rams' armor is it has some holes. Like in the secondary, there's a few holes to potentially exploit, but they're not big holes. Like the Landman, the linebacker, Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk. They're all good. It's just it's not even a weakness. It's like an averageness, isn't it? It's like they've got an averageness in the secondary, but not an actual weakness. I don't know. It's why I'm signing in Stafford. It's such a different. That's why football's amazing. And for listeners out there, either just getting into football, or if you're watching football and you've been watching it for ages, why it's amazing. Like football, soccer can be played in many ways too, but ultimately very similar ways. Like your players need to be a particular level and whatever. In American football, you can have a Matt Stafford quarterback who sits in that pocket. If he tried to move, his legs would fall off. You can have a Josh Allen who's like a big-bodied, strong-armed cannon of a man who can just either run through people, run around people, throw it over people. Then you've got like a Lamar Jackson who's agile and nifty and nimble. And then you've got a Mahomes who's like a finesse, technical, off-plan, almost like basketball player. And that's just in the quarterback position. It's just so varied, and there's so many ways to win. I fucking love it. And I think that, like you say, Stafford going up against Josh Allen in the Super Bowl would be amazing. 2 top flight quarterbacks just trying to will their team to win. Hopefully that doesn't happen, because the Seahawks make it, but they do feel like the Rams, as I've said for weeks now, do feel like the team to beat. Cool. That's the NFC signs. We need to get through these. Let's go slaps. Hit me with your slap, Camo, and I've got a feeling you're coming back home.
Yeah. Should never lose a game because of a fucking kicker, man. Brandon McManus, you suck. So yeah, slapping him because he missed 2 field goals and an extra point, and
that's something.
When you need to keep just add in those 3 points, they make such a difference, because how dominant we were in their first half, or how shit the Bears were in that first half. Those 3 points where you just keep points ticking up makes such a difference, because it just stops any sort of momentum that they built in the second half. Missing it actually just adds to their momentum, because you're giving them better field position. They know that
It's like
they've stopped you there for 0 points. Just absolutely shambolic, man. Like, fine. Like I say, I'm just glad the season's over with now. It's been a painful season throughout. We've lost our last 5 games. That's
a painful season. You've had a good season. You don't know pain. I wish you knew pain, both of you.
I think we lost 5 or 6 games where we had a double-digit lead, and it's just not been there. We didn't win a game without Micah Parsons, which is madness. Considering we obviously only got him this year, he's become now everything on that defense straight away. Look,
absolutely everything as well.
Look, this game,
everything.
I didn't think we'd win it going in. I knew we had a chance, obviously, but I didn't think we would win it with just where we've been. But to be that 21-3 up and then absolutely sort of capitulate, and they changed up at half time, and our offensive line could not. We didn't change. So they made changes which worked. We didn't make changes and couldn't counter what they were doing. Jordan Lovely threw 4 touchdowns. Like, it's not a bad game from him, but to not be able to see it out is just not good enough. Didn't deserve to go through on it. But yeah, it's a painful one to lose because obviously no one wants to lose to the Bears. They've turned into a really good team.
The Packers don't want to lose to the Bears, that's for sure.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, in the NFC North, we're the ones now that have not won the North in the longest time.
Wow.
Everyone else has had a win before we have now, which tells you we've snuck into the playoffs the last 3 seasons as a 7th seed. So you go 4 years ago when 7th seed wasn't a thing, actually we'd have missed the playoffs the last 3 seasons. We don't have first round picks now for the next 2 years. We need to do something. We're going to need to get creative.
You got no money.
We got no money. Got no
fans. Got no ground. No,
so things are interesting. Like I say,
yeah.
Goal one of the season is to get to the playoffs. We ultimately we've done that, but at what point is making the playoffs acceptable? Because I think we've said this about the Steelers. You can make the playoffs 7 years in a row and actually only ever make you're one and done. You don't win a game.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
No, fair play. It is tough, Cam. Definitely, as you say. I mean, a terrible season is not necessarily what I would call it. You know, getting to the playoffs and signing Micah Parsons. It was such a exciting initial season for the Packers. But you've had some injuries. You've also had some sporadic play, and I guess that's ultimately what it comes down to. And you have got some stuff to do. I guess circling and arcing back to this week in particular, Dave. I think me and you are probably. I think we've both got Packers in our sight lines as well. So I may as well just. Mine's Jeff Hafley, who's your defensive coordinator, Cam. Just because, as much as Brandon McManus absolutely deserves a slap, missing those points. Essentially, you get those points, you win that game. Essentially, on paper, like when you add them up, and then Jeff Hafley to be so far up and then give up 25 points. And listeners who've listened to all of our podcasts, you'll have heard me say on the last at least 3 or 4 podcasts, the fourth quarter, and obviously in the playoffs it goes that way, but the fourth quarter, man, just seems to be the time that everyone comes alive. 25 points for the Bears, especially the Bears.
How many times have the Bears won in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, so many.
That's crazy.
If that's the time where the coordinator can or the head coach can go, look, I've got some plays lined up for us to get back in this game. They're risky plays, but they're high risk, high reward. Let's run them. He's a good coach. And Jeff Hafley had nothing for the Bears. Caleb Williams did play a good game, and off script and throwing on the run and diving through the air like the Jordan Jumpman throw that's becoming famous now he's special. Like he's good. I don't think he's great yet, but he could be. And the Packers just, I feel like you are Micah Parsons now. Like, that is your identity. Identity is get pressure up front because your corners can't hang with receivers for as long as they need to. Got some good linebackers on you. But nevertheless, it's the fact that Jeff Hafley did nothing in that fourth quarter to try and all you needed was one stop, ultimately. That would have sealed the deal. So I'm slapping him. And for good measure as well, as good as that game looks on paper for Jordan Love, and I think this is a problem for the pack. Everyone thinks Jordan Love is amazing, and he's very good at times, and he's very good at throwing a deep ball. He missed 22 passes in this game. Underneath shots, they don't have a guy. I think you said this to me, Dave, and you can expand on it from me if you want. But you don't have a medium to underneath game. You've got Josh Jacobs, who's your hammer, and then everything is a deep threat to a literally, really a nobody, or like any of your, not a nobody, but any of your receivers. It's a Bo Melton catching a fucking deep ball sat in some zone somewhere, or a Jaden Reed doing the same, or a desperation deep shot to a very good player in Christian Watson. And whilst those things are great to have, you need them. Jordan Love's great at them. I don't think he's that game manager, and it serves you pretty badly. Anyway, Dave, over to you.
Ultimately, we actually want to run the ball. We're a run first team. We couldn't get the run going pretty much this entire season, which changes up everything. And like I say, the play calling to go with that, because the run game just didn't materialise at all.
Yeah.
But hey, it's done now.
No, and yeah, obviously, like jumping on the back of both of yours, I'm going to slap Matt LaFleur purely because kind of a little bit of what everybody said here, like ultimately it's his team, it's his offense. At halftime, they just seemed to go really bland and just kind of stop. The things that were working just kind of, I'm going to say they stopped working, but nothing was changed. Like the Bears made some kind of adjustments and the Packers didn't respond to it. And I think scoring 6 points in the second half just it's not really acceptable. I know there's the missed kicks and stuff, and he's definitely not to blame for them. You've got a kicker. They need to be able to kick these field goals. They weren't 68-yarders, were they?
One was a PAT, for God's sake.
Yeah. And in terms of we were talking about this last night. I think that the Packers are really missing when they looked at their best. They had Aaron Jones, who you could run the ball with if you needed to, or you could use him as that pass catcher, and you just don't seem to have that anymore. That I know, matey boy got injured. What's your tight end called, Cam?
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, he's been a huge loss for you. I feel like your team's looked a lot more stale when having lost him, and he did provide a little bit of that kind of intermediate stuff, but he could stretch the field. He could do it both. But you've got Josh Jacobs, who's this absolute cannonball that's designed to just beat teams up. The Derrick Henry kind of running approach where you just hammer teams down. But if that doesn't work, we've not really got a third down back that you can use as like that passing option like you had with Aaron Jones. And I think that it really does show, because a lot of Jordan Love's balls seem to be launched downfield. That's why he's always got these big yard games, and letting receivers like Romeo Dobbs, he had 8 receptions for 124 yards. You're missing that intermediate stuff, and I think that's LaFleur's bag. He's the offensive play caller. It's his identity they're trying to use, and he just doesn't seem to be there. And like if you do stop the run, 19 carries for 55 yards isn't great. I know the Bears didn't have much of a run game either. It was a bit of a passing game but you need to have that ability. They've got that ability to like dump it off to like DeAndre Swift, or some of their receivers, or played like who's the one they got from the Panthers?
DJ Moore
can take like screens, or they can do little handoffs in the backfield. I don't
Luther
see any of that
does
with
jet sweeps.
Yeah, the Packers don't seem to have that in their arsenal, and I think that's what you were kind of outdone in the end by the ability to not change anything, and that's why I think it's the head coach's thing. I don't think you should sack him because
apparently we're trying to renegotiate a new contract. He's only got one left, and we're
I saw a thing saying that they didn't want to go into his last year with like a contract negotiation going on, so they're either going to,
if they can't agree on,
But you're in this position with Mike McCarthy. It was the same sort of thing. Get into the playoffs. Although you did have deeper runs, I think, with McCarthy.
Yeah, and won a Super Bowl with him.
Yeah. I think you were in this sort of position where you're kind of in that. And this is what we're speaking about in that group, wasn't it? Like, would you rather be the Steelers and get to the playoffs to get bounced first round and never be in a position to ever like draft anybody of worth and rely on getting free agents and hitting getting lucky with these later draft picks, or being shit all season and getting like a top 5 draft pick and actually trying to like do what the Jags have done and actually build a team from scratch into like a bit of an offensive juggernaut now. You don't want to be caught in that. I mean, there's nothing worse than losing for 17 weeks. Trust me. But I also think it'd be bad just essentially doing what you've done now. And although I do think you're set at quarterback, you have got stars on your team, superstars.
Oh yeah. We do need to add in pieces, but it's also having. Unfortunately, I think we paid some players that aren't producing, that are now taking up cap that we can't utilize elsewhere. It's those decisions as well that go a long way. Is not just the draft picks, but when and who you choose to pay and how much, because we've got some players on this team that have far too much money that they're demanding, that the productivity doesn't warrant it. And if you were to pay them now, they'd get nowhere near it. So yeah, there's a lot of choices to be made, a lot of decisions to happen. But ultimately we got to the playoffs again, and there's only ever one team that wins in a season, right? There's only one team that ultimately gets the end goal. I just think this one we limped into the playoffs. 5 straight losses. It's not pretty.
No, fair enough. And that I guess that rounds off the NFC. We'll move into the AFC. But the Bears won. They progress. Packers are out into the off season. 31 Bears, 27 Packers. Right into the into the AFC. Dave, let's roll deep with this one. I want your slaps in the AFC, please.
I'm slapping Mike Tomlin. Very similar reasons to LaFleur, so I'll kind of keep it. Although we've not really talked about this game, but
we haven't. Yeah.
The Steelers lost. They got the brakes beaten off them. I think they were very fortunate. A lot of things went their way with earlier on in the game with CJ Stroud not being able to do. Apparently, he only had 3 fingers for the whole game because he couldn't hold on to the ball. Their center was just snapping it randomly. He threw some stinky interception. Fumbled multiple times. He essentially helped the Steelers. I think off 3 turnovers in the first 3 quarters, the Steelers got 3 points off them. They couldn't do anything. The Steelers couldn't move the ball. My point is, Tomlin's his defense and stuff, his game plan in his team, they're very stale. They've been stale for a long time, and I think it's definitely time for them to move on. They at least with the Packers, the Packers have got so many pieces in place. You've got your franchise quarterback. You've got a young, elite defensive player. The Steelers at the start of the season went and got Aaron Rodgers, who's obviously done, completely done. He's had a couple of good games this year, but most of them have been very average and they've been carried sort of limping over the finish line to 10 wins. I mean, they had 10 wins this year. That's unbelievable.
They also massively got fortunate on how bad that division turned out to be with injuries.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying before. You're not going to have a season again where Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are both injured.
No.
We don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to look like when he comes back. If he comes back and he's what he used to be, he's been a long time since Deshaun Watson's been Deshaun Watson, but if he comes back and he's as good as what he used to be, the Steelers have got no hope. They'll finish bottom next year. They signed all these old players, traded away Minka Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. They've stocked up on these old players, and it's got them a first round mollywhopping. They've been absolutely battered. Yeah, again.
In a position not to be able to take a quarterback, which is
a primary need for them. They're going to be left next season with Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Unless they can work some trade out with somebody, or they take a risk on one of these quarterbacks, like a Malik Willis, or they go and get Justin Fields back, or who did they have last year? Russell Wilson, or they take a punt on someone like Will Levis, somebody who's completely off a team and try and bring them in. They're not going to have anybody. And TJ Watt's getting old. Cam Hayward's getting old. DK Metcalf, if he doesn't get the ball, he turns into a little baby. He had a big drop in this game.
Yeah.
And I just think that the Texans on offense looked awful.
They did.
Terrible.
Their defense is unbelievable, and their defense didn't turn up for the first 2 quarters. It essentially took a pick six, a fumble recovery for a touchdown, for them to even like put a little bit of distance between themselves and the Steelers.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the Steelers team, the same as the Packers, it's to do with your head coach. You know, he's the one he makes the calls and that. He looks like a hobo on the sidelines.
He needs to clean himself up, man. Like, it's not a good look for him. He at one point, he was like that polished Idris Elba looking black man on the side of the, you know, with a bit of size to him and a bit of riz. And now he looks like he should be singing fucking show tunes on the side of a fucking oil bin that's on fire. Like,
it looks like what he does in the morning is he wakes up in a tent on Skid Row, catches a flight to the Steelers to Pittsburgh, and then it's like, right, let's go, boys.
Yeah.
He just looks fucked, and I think that, I mean, it probably takes its toll on you, but they're so successful that they're becoming unsuccessful. The successful in the regular season is actually doing them a disservice now because they don't have the ability to get these earlier draft picks and actually build a young team. They're an old team, man. And TJ Watt ain't the same as what he used to be, although he had a good game this game, but he's not that guy anymore. He's not a 22 and a half sack guy. Cam Hayward's older than Roger Goodell, you know, and he's somehow still in there. They've got Hightower, who's old, or Highsmith, whatever his name is. I just think that the Steelers now, they need to hit a hard reset, get rid of Tomlin, and just try and actually, they're a historic franchise. And like I say, they've been around fucking 100 years, and they've had 3 head coaches or whatever.
Yeah.
But they need something needs to change with them, I think. And
I mean, there's so many coaching vacancies right now. It just seems like a lot of teams are cleaning house a little bit. Like I say, the Ravens have gone and done it, which
I think they have to.
Another big one. Yeah, they need something different.
I feel like they have to.
I think we called it at the start of the season. This will be Tomlin's last one.
You did, for sure. Yeah, you said you think he'll be gone. Yeah. End of the season, I called the Harbaugh one, but that was not particularly insightful. But yeah, start of the season, I think you did. And realistically, I mean, look, I'm jumping on the back of this. My slap is in this game, so this game was only played last night as well, and last playoff game of the week to decide who's moving on, and I'm slapping CJ Stroud even though they got the win. Just so you know. So whilst we're in this position, and on the flip side, this head coach in Houston is unbelievable, and he's making his defense operate. But what he needs is an offensive coordinator that can actually get something going. And I think the Texans have been very, very stale on offense all season. CJ Stroud is terrible, CJ Stroud's getting this slap because, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, he was god awful. He fumbled the ball. Okay, guess how many times he fumbled the ball?
Was it 4?
No, 5. He fumbled the ball 5 times in this game.
Yeah, didn't he fumble it twice on one play?
I don't know.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He dropped the snap, didn't he? They picked it up and then got strip sacked.
Yeah, maybe that's where it counts as the 5th. But he lost 2 of them. Somehow they recovered 1. They recovered the others. But he also threw an interception. Like, he was basically single-handedly giving this game away. And the Steelers' defense ain't what it used to be anymore. No. It's okay. It doesn't fire on all cylinders. The D'Amico Ryans, however, on the Texans side, has got their defense operating to such a level. You know, like 14 of their 30 points were scored on defense. That's outrageous.
How pissed off do you think the players on defense with how much do you want us to do, boys? Can you not just go out there and
I've always thought about that.
Like, I know it's one team, but do you think they just get pissed off at each other?
I don't know. I mean, I'd imagine it's frustrating. Yes, Cam. I think it definitely would be like, oh God, here we go again. But at the same time, if you love playing ball and you know that you're the dominant force, maybe you just can't wait to get back out there. I don't know. But it definitely in these positions where you're thinking, look, Steelers have only got 6 points. Like, come on, all you need to do is score a touchdown, and we win. And it probably does get frustrating. But I mean, ultimately, finally, or finishing the game, CJ had 250 yards and a touchdown, and he makes these throws to open zone players. Nico Collins and Christian Kirk had an absolute day today. I don't know where he came from. Somebody put 50p in him, and he had 144 yards and a touchdown. But since when? Since when's Christian Kirk been the driving force of any franchise, never mind the Texans? And it's just because the Steelers' defense is just not, it isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. And if you haven't got a good enough defense, what are you as a Steelers team? Because your offense ain't shit. So 6 points from the Steelers, but 30 from the Texans, 14 of which came on defense. And CJ Stroud looked for 2.5 quarters as bad as you can get. Just everything wrong, making stupid decisions. Like take the sack. You know, so many of his some of his fumbles came from him trying to squeeze the ball out whilst he's already wrapped up by Highsmith or TJ. These guys are bigger than you, stronger than you. Just hold on to the ball. Ball security is number one in the playoffs. Has to be. If you take the sack and you can go again, fair enough. Or if you take the sack and then you can punt it away, fair enough. Take the sack, try to throw the ball, and then they pick it up on your 40, 30. At one point, it was on their 32-yard line. You're almost so lucky that the defense is beyond elite because of, you're handing them a touchdown, nearly.
But their defense is crazy good, but their offense is equally that bad. That yes, it's the whole defense wins championships, but your offense needs to be able to do something, right?
And I think it eventually does, and that's the thing, that they're lucky that I don't think CJ Stroud is a horrific quarterback. When he's on, he's on. It's just when he's off, he's also off. It's really weird, and this is not really very technical review of a quarterback's skills and attributes, but I can't really say it any more simply than that. He's shit when he's really shit, and I don't know what the difference is. It's not like he's injured or whatever. It's just he has moments of greatness.
So is it motivate? Is he actually up for the game? I don't know. Is it the professionalism? I don't know, but
I think he is, because when he's on the floor, he's flabbergasted that he's fumbled the ball. He looks disheartened, he does give a massive shit. I think CJ Stroud, his personality is actually a good trait of his, personally. But I don't know. There's just something not there. Dave, just to finish this off, any comments on CJ Stroud?
I think he's maybe a victim of having one good season sort of 2 years ago. And he's kind of not been that good. So maybe this is just who he is.
Yeah, true.
And maybe they've been carried there by that defense, which is what we all know. And he's just kind of along for the ride. And if you don't do anything wrong, then they blow teams out. If he does do stuff wrong, they still win, but only just.
Okay, fair.
Maybe that's what it is. But I mean, I don't know. But their game, then against the Patriots, I don't know who's going to win that game.
No, me neither.
No,
I think the Patriots will win the game purely because they'll make less mistakes.
Sure.
But the Texas defense could turn up and go crazy and
destroy them. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Last slap. Cam?
I'm going to slap Justin Herbert.
Very well deserved.
Because he's been around now for a very long time. They've come into the playoffs. They're going up against a Patriots team, which, yes, it's been consistent, but they've not played, and we've spoken about this, they've not played really anyone all season long. But Justin Herbert and the Chargers managed to put up 3 points.
That is woeful.
Yeah. It's the playoffs. You've got to be able to do something. Okay, all of these other teams that have gone and lost in the wild card, they've all come down to the sort of fourth quarter. They've been putting up points. They've been lead changes. 3 points, and it's just not good enough. He's, like I say, he's been around for a long time. I generally think he needs out of LA.
Really?
I'd like to see him on a different team because I was a fan of him. I know you boys weren't. He's not doing anything. He's not making any difference to that team, not really positively anyway, because he can't put a team on his back. He's a miniature Josh Allen, so he's just not there. I get it. His offensive line got destroyed early in the season.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the Niners. They've dealt with more injuries than anybody. They find a way. This guy just can't find a way. And again, this game wasn't exciting.
No, it was crap. This
game was not exciting. This game, they didn't actually need to do much. It was, what was it, 19-3 or something like that?
16-3.
Yeah. A couple of touchdowns.
It was pretty poor across the board. I mean, Drake May had 268 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He took 5 sacks. Justin Herbert took 6 sacks. Almost got absolutely knocked into a total different realm at one point. I'm surprised they let him back in the game because he definitely looked concussed. But he just, absolutely can. I mean, 3 points, like you said, 3 points in a playoff game against a Patriots team whose defense, it's not been their defense that's been their unrelenting driving force all year. It's been good. Dare I say, it's been great, but it's not been elite. Like, it's been Drake May and the offense that's been moving this ball downfield on bad teams
as well.
And their run game, their offense essentially. Hence Dave's sign of the run game last week for the Patriots. But I think I don't know. I mean, Herbert has got all this hype and zero of the action. Zero. Mm-hmm. Like, so many people started tossing him off at the start of this season because he had a good 3 games. You know, I was listening to podcasts around the NFL and whatever it is, NFL Daily, and Jordan Rodriguez, she loves the Chargers. She covers them. She was bombing him dry. She's like, he's going to be it could be the MVP of the league. Chargers are the number 1 team in the NFL. It's 3 weeks in, love. They've played this team, that team, that team. Probably one of them was like the Raiders. Probably the other one was the Jets. And all of a sudden they're the best team since sliced bread. Just, you got to keep those types of conversations if you're professional to yourself, because Herbert ain't that man. He's good. But he's not even great.
No, I want to see him move. I think as one of the quarterbacks that, I think you'd have to trade quite a bit to get him.
You wouldn't get him.
But he
loves him.
But he should be available, right? Because
he needs some fresh start. But again, he's got weapons. Dave, what do you reckon? Because I know you had Herbert in fantasy. You didn't used to like him. Then you liked him for a bit because he did you all right in fantasy for the first 2 weeks. And now where do you land on old Fitzpervert?
Yeah, he beat the Chiefs, didn't they? Week one.
Yes, it was.
And obviously we were like, they beat the Chiefs. Like they must be. Literally, we know how bad the Chiefs are going to be this year, which probably like takes the shine off of that a little bit, but. With the Niners get injuries, so they know that they have to have multiple people that you can rely on. Yeah. So if Brock Purdy gets injured, you've still got McCaffrey. If McCaffrey gets injured, Purdy can still do it with his arms. But I don't feel like the Chargers have got anybody other than Herbert. Their run game's not good enough to be like relied upon. Their wide receivers, they've got an old Keenan Allen. They've got that lad McConkey. I don't know what he is. He's a B and E. He's not an A. I just don't feel like they give him a lot, and then they're like, go out there, Herbert, and do it. And then their offensive line dies, so he just gets obliterated. He's a Temu Josh Allen, and let's be honest, he's a Wish.com Josh Allen. Yeah. He's got the size. He's 6'6", cannon of an arm, can run. But he's just not robust. He's always injured. He's just not that guy. And I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to be that franchise. He's obviously the franchise quarterback. I'm not saying that. But I don't think he's ever going to be the franchise carrier that like a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's one of those guys.
Justin Herbert will never win a Super Bowl. I'm like, that's that.
I don't know, because I think
I'm saying it.
He could end up being, because people probably said that about Matt Stafford when he was at Detroit and they were losing 16 games a year. He got moved later on in his career, found the right coach, the right team, and they win a Super Bowl. That could be Justin Herbert, because his stats will probably his stats will kind of look similar to Stafford's with what he can do, throwing the ball and stuff. But
I think I'd like to see Herbert at the Falcons. I think that'd be a good combination. They need a coach, but
he ain't going nowhere.
Not
whilst what's his name?
That's why he took. Yeah, loves him. That's why he took that job.
Yeah,
because they had Herbert.
Yeah.
He's just right now he ain't that guy. Whether he could become that guy, that's a different matter. But right now they need so much, and they ain't got it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's finish on signs, shall we? And shall I start with mine? I think I might as well. It goes quite nicely with this game. I'm signing Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Patriots, because whilst we've just given some ultimo shit to Justin Herbert for being crap, realistically, as we know, he's not crap, but he plays crap at times, and in this game was forced to play crap by a defense that just came after him and had their way with him and confused him and sacked him and strip sacked him and knocked him to the ground, beat him up. And Vrabel this season has just done, I feel like he is a coach that looks at the team that he's going to play and plays against their weaknesses and plays to his strengths. Like he's a coach, like we've literally just given 2 examples. Dave, you gave the example of the Steelers and Mike Tomlin and Matt LaFleur, where 2 head coaches, as good a coaches as you can kind of get, but do nothing to change their game to deal with the team that they're facing. In this one, the Patriots did what they needed to do to dispatch the Chargers. They entirely shut down the rushing game of the Chargers, which is their strength. Like, if you look at it on paper, it is what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. They rushed for 22 yards in this game. And it's not like they were chasing a 30 to 3 lead where they had to just pass the ball. They could have ran this ball and kept the ball going and kept the score racking up. This team got absolutely dumped on by the Patriots. Herbert led the team in yards, sorry. Sorry, I got this totally wrong. I was looking at the amount of carries. The yards was not 22, it was 87, still horrendous. 57 by Herbert, who led the team in rushing. Then Vidal with 31 and Amari and Hampton with -1. Like, that under 100 yards rushing between 3 good players is terrible. On the flip side, they put 146 yards on the ground, 268 through the air, and just kept that ball moving. Every player on this Chargers team, the most catches by anybody was 3, and that was Lad McConkey, and Gadsden had 3, and Keenan Allen had 3, and Vidal had 2. It gets worse from there. It just is not. The Patriots suffocated the Chargers basically, and it felt like coaching. That their defense has not been that type of defense all season. It's been good, it's not been great, but in this one they just were unrelentless. Getting Milton Williams back was massive for them as well, because he had 2 sacks in this game, straight down the middle, up the pipe. They paid big money for him in the offseason. It just goes to show what you can do when you spend some money in the offseason. Looking at you, Titans. But yeah. I just thought Vrabel, he's all season has been that stand-up coach. He knows what it takes to win. He's been there and done it himself. He's a good leader. Took a headbutt at the end of the game and came onto the field with a bloody nose. Fair play to him. Like, good on him. I don't like the Patriots. I really dislike the Patriots, to be honest. But it is what it is.
Vrabel seems like a guy you just can't really dislike, though. I wish Titans had a coach like that. But no.
So,
yeah. No, I'm with you. And I think going back to like the Herbert slap, he's if they're a team that's built to run the ball, and that's obviously what he wants, because that's what his Michigan team was about, this run first mentality. Why have you even got Justin Herbert? Herbert's strength is throwing the ball down the field.
It's true. And what's he done most of this year? Ran the ball.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're all right.
Vrabel,
because it is a win. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. Dave, finish your AFC with your signage.
Well, we've kind of already talked about him, and we've talked to death a little bit about this game, but I'm signing Josh Allen because he is exactly the opposite, like we just said, of Herbert, who is a guy who puts a team on his back and does everything he needs to do to win the game. And you saw it in abundance in this, putting his body on the line, getting injured multiple times to get the win. But like I say, we've talked Josh Allen a load at the start, so there's no need to sort of like be a dead horse with this one. Like, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. He's the best quarterback that's left in the playoffs. So yeah, we'll see where he goes from here. See what happens next week.
With an MVP from last year, to then go get a ring would really elevate his overall status in the NFL, like history books, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he's always going to be compared to like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That they're the 3 that are going to get compared, aren't they? Whilst they're sort of the
should be Burrows as well, but yeah,
yeah. But them 3 sort of came in, didn't they? Either at the same time or
Burrow was just a little bit later, but yeah. And
it does make you appreciate how special Mahomes is. When you think that in that time where you've had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson and Mahomes kind of all the same draft, or all started really playing the same sort of season, and Mahomes has been to 5 Super Bowls in that time.
And won 3, yeah.
and Allen's never been to one. Lamar's never been to one. But I do think for his legacy, his Hall of Fame credentials, he needs to win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying he needs to win 3 or 4, but he needs to win a Super Bowl.
I feel like with the teams left, and he has got loads of time, but with the teams left this year, the quarterback that needs that elevation the most to match the hype is probably him.
Yeah, it's close. And like you say, and then you've got Burrow is probably, at the minute, Burrow is the most overhyped because he's done nothing short of getting to a Super Bowl. He has been to a Super Bowl. It looks like a fluke.
Yeah, it does. And it might have been. But yeah, good. Josh Allen. Camo finishes off. Not like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So similar to Dave, we've already spoke about it. I mentioned him earlier, but Parker Washington, I think he just stepped up and turned up in this game.
From the Jags.
Yeah. I mean, I say the Jags played a great game. So, I mean, Parker Washington, 107 yards, 7 catches and a touchdown. It's a good showing in a tight competitive playoff game. Like I say, Jags hold your head up high, go into next season, and
does he return kicks for them as well? Is he the guy that returns kicks for the Jags, or is he just a bona fide receiver? I don't know. I feel like he does, or I might be thinking about the Washington from the Dolphins, actually.
He is a punt returner. I think he's a punt returner.
He is, okay.
The Jaguars.
I
hope they don't keep the head held high. I hope they drop the heads. And
being in the AFC South for sure. Yeah, the kicker. But nice finish, Cam. I mean, it's showing some respect to the Jags, who ultimately put up a really good fight, and I think he started to emerge back end of the season. He's had a few 100-yard games, and he was that. That's why I said as well about the first round pick. What's his name? I always forget his name. Travis Hunter. That's why I'm saying they don't need a Travis Hunter on offense at the moment when you've got the players that they've currently got. He essentially, this Washington is essentially a Travis Hunter in the fact that same sort of skill set. He's got top end speed, gets open deep. Use him. So good. We finish. Slap or sign. Wildcard week is over. Now we'll just quickly go through the games that are to come, and I want your guys' opinion. Now we're essentially one step closer to the glory that is the Super Bowl, and obviously everything gets more and more important. This is the divisional round that we are going to experience this week, and the only thing after that comes the conference championships with 4 teams. So this week, the first matchup is Mr. Josh Allen, who we've been talking a lot about, going up against that Denver defense. It's going to be hosted in Denver because they were the number 1 seed, playing at a Mile High. It's got a new name, Empower Field, but at Mile High Stadium. An amazing defense against a high-octane offense, or just a high-octane Josh Allen. Dave, where are we going with Buffalo at Denver at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 17th of January?
Well, I'm away that weekend, so I'm going somewhere else. However, in terms of picking a team, I've got the Bills. I think the Bills will do it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think the Broncos have got a good defense. They've got a great defense. I think their offense can be very, very hit or miss, and I'm assuming they're going to miss. I don't think I rate Bo Nix that much, and I don't know how they are. If they get behind early, I don't necessarily think they've got the ability to punch through and sort of like throw their way back into the game.
Okay, Camo.
I'm going the opposite. I'm going Denver. I think their defense is going to be prepared for Josh Allen. They've had that bye week, which doesn't always play into teams' favours in the playoffs, but I think Bo Nix will be able to just do enough on offense, probably with his legs, to get the win.
Okay. This is a tough one to call. I'm by no means saying the team that I think will take it with any confidence. I see a very strong scenario here where the Bills just terrorize Josh Allen and stop everything. I'm so tempted to say the Broncos. I just don't know what they've got, the Bills, apart from Josh Allen, and I don't like betting against him, but I don't know what they've got that matches up really well against the Broncos. I feel like they could shut them down in every way, including the run, including the receivers. I'm riding it on Josh Allen. I'll say the Bills, but I think it'll be incredibly tight. So 2 for the Bills, 1 for the Broncos. Nice. Next game, My boys, San Francisco rolling into Seattle on Sunday, 1 a.m. our time. So it's technically a Saturday game. And it's at Lumen Field. What we saying, Dave? What we saying, Camo? Are my boys taking it, or did the Niners just find that resolve to win?
I mean, if you're going off 2 weeks ago, it should be simple, right? And they're down another superstar. I think you're going to do it, but I think it's going to be a lot tighter.
Okay, Dave.
Kind of the opposite. I think you'll do it, but I think them opportunities that you squandered in that first game, not the first game, the last game.
Yeah,
I think you'll put them away. I think you've had an extra week to focus solely on sort of two teams that are very similar. You know, the Eagles and the Niners play a very similar game. I don't think it's that you're going to be focused on that run, them little dump off passes that they do. And I think your safeties and your corners are more than up to the challenge against the Niners. And like Cam says, being down Kittle is massive for them. You know, there isn't another George Kittle. You know, your second tight end can't do anywhere near what George Kittle can do, so that just immediately ruins a load of plays.
Yeah.
So I think you'll win. I think it'll be comfortable as well.
I mean, by gosh, do I hope that that's the case. But I'll go. I do also think we're going to win. I've got faith in my boys. But the big factor is losing Kittle. But the Niners have shown that losing a superstar doesn't mean anything, really, in the scheme of things. But I think we can do it. I think, Cam, I feel like I'm more akin to your opinion in that it'll be tighter, because I don't really see how you can hold the Niners to 3 points 2 weeks on the bounce. You know, essentially, they're a better team than that. They're a better coach. Shanahan will have some trick plays in his arsenal and do things differently. But I'm hoping with health and scheme from Mike McDonald that we'll be able to dispatch them and move on. So yeah, I'd say 3 for Seattle in there. Next game is Houston, New England. We all said at the start, this one's a tough one to call. So Houston at New England at Gillette Stadium, 8 p.m. game in the UK for us, which is great, which means we can watch that no problem. And Dave, are you going with your man Vrabel, or are you going with the powerhouse that is D'Amico Ryan's defense?
I'm gonna say that I think the Patriots are gonna do them. I think they're a more balanced team. They're good enough on defense to be able to make life difficult for Stroud, and I just think on offense they've got some magic that they've sprinkled onto Drake May, and he looks good. So I'm going to say that the Patriots does them.
Camo?
I think the Texans defense finds a way. Yeah, I'm putting it all on their defense. I don't think the offense will help them, but I think their defense will give them every opportunity to win a tight one.
Fair. I'm going Texans as well. I feel like this is probably by far the best defense that Drake May will have come up against this year. And again, it's a tough call. I don't think it's going to be, I think it will be a very low scoring game. I think it'll be quite close. I don't think it'll be many points. But if I count on the Patriots defense stopping Stroud versus the Texans defense stopping May, just my heart says that the Texans defense will stop May, as good as he's been, because he has been amazing. Okay, last but not least, but maybe least, I'm hoping, with the Rams. But the Rams take on Chicago, the Bears against LA, Matt Stafford, Caleb Williams, fourth quarter comeback king against powerhouse of the NFL, NFC, in Matt Stafford, MVP. Soldier Field, so it is in Chicago. Could be a windy one. Could be blowing a hoolie. If that does happen, that could be interesting. Snow. Could be snow.
I say it could be for me, I think that's a huge part of this game, not being inside at SoFi.
In LA. Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a huge part of how the Rams are. But I've got to say the Rams.
Yeah. Going Rams, Matty Stafford.
Yeah, I just don't want the Bears to do it. I actually think there's every chance that the Bears do it because it's at home.
Yeah,
but I'm still saying the Rams.
Dinkums. Dave?
Yeah, same. I think the Rams. I just can't see the Bears beating them.
So well coached, aren't they?
I'm going to say the Bears, and this is just because of hope. Like I'm saying, I'm pointing out into the ether, hoping that it happens. If the Seahawks manage to beat the Niners, I really don't want to play the Rams again. You know, we've played them already twice this year. We split the games. It was tough. To be the best, you've got to beat the best, absolutely. In my opinion, we've played them once, we've beaten once. I don't want to play them again. I would, for just a different feel as well, I'd like to see us play the Bears if we got there, because we haven't played them. And I think that ultimately, I think the Rams are a much better team. Being at home, and if the weather is not great, I think I trust the Bears' offensive line and run game more than I trust the Rams' run game. And maybe I think that's where it boils down to. If the weather's good and the ball can be thrown, Stafford's probably winning it. But I'm going to hope that the elements play a part. Go Bears. And that's it. That's everything. That is the wildcard weekend over. That is our divisional round look ahead, and wraps up our world-class wildcard week playoff podcast. Gave us lots of chaos, gave us lots to think about. The divisional round is now set to be even bigger. Make sure you follow us at In The End Zone UK. Share us with football-loving family and friends. Let us know what teams you think are making it to the championship weekend. We'd love to hear it. But until next time, thank you for jumping on the podcast, boys. Peace.
See you later.
Football is life.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.